Hello everyone! Today I'll be exploring more on how to use the generative fill AI from Photoshop, but for video. With this technique you can create set extensions just like this one, and if you don't like a part you can simply swap it out with something else. I have used this technique for my short film Narration Violation for the interior bank scene, and I thought it was interesting because I have used this AI for photos before, but just never thought about using it for videos. I know it has been around for a while and there are other AIs that can create video right now, but I don't think they can combine recorded videos with generated videos. So I want to try a couple more different shots and see what this AI is capable of. I'm Joppe Koops and welcome to my YouTube channel. Okay, so you've seen the intro, so let's see how I made that. I've already imported the clip into DaVinci Resolve, and the first thing we're gonna do is export a single frame from somewhere in the middle of the clip. How you're gonna do that is by going to the Color tab, right-clicking on the video and grab still. Then we can go over to the stills gallery and export this still as a TIFF file. That I think gives you the highest quality to work with in Photoshop, and then open it up in Photoshop. In Photoshop we first want to create some room for the extension, so we're going to do that by using the crop tool. Now there is an option here for generative expand, but we're just going to use the default background fill method, and I'm going to show you what it is later. So we're going to expand the frame, make sure to keep the same aspect ratio. If we would have used the generative expand, it would have filled from the edges only the white area, but I also want some overlap into the image because I want to change some things. So we're just going to do it manually. We're going to do that by selecting the things we don't want to change, and then inverting our selection by pressing Command-Shift-I, and then click generative fill. Now first we're going to just leave this field blank to just create a background, and we're going to click generate. By leaving the field blank, we just let Photoshop decide what to create, and hopefully it's going to create an empty background that we can then add some elements to. Now as you can see, it has generated some stuff I don't want, but luckily there's more options. Why is there stuff on the table? Okay, let's generate some more options because I don't like these options. Okay, I don't know what's outside there. Well, I was going to create something over that, so that's okay. Now we have this kind of blank background. This is really where the fun begins because we can do whatever we want. I want to add some white curtains to cover the windows. This one looks good, and I'm also gonna add one on the other side. Okay, now I want to add some kind of a studio light here on the right. Fresnel studio light. Something like that. As you can see, I had to try a couple of times before I got what I wanted, a realistic studio light. And this is really what this is, going back and forth with the AI until you get what you want, even adjusting the prompt or adding more detail, because it's getting all kinds of different lights here, bigger ones, smaller ones, some are off, some are on. And if you don't really know what you want, the AI will just add the details itself or generate something completely different. I also wanted to add a plant here, and as you can see I was quite specific with my prompt. I want a green plant in a pot with big leaves, and still I got a lot of different plants. Next I did the alternative version with the bookshelf. I also added a microphone at the top here and a truss bar to hold the microphone, and I later added a light also on the truss bar. Now when you're done creating your image, you want to move it back over to DaVinci. For that we're gonna disable the original background image, because that's what we're gonna replace with the video. Then we're gonna go to export and export it as a PNG. So we have the transparency layer, and then import that into DaVinci. And now we can overlay it on the original footage on the second video track and stretch it all the way over the original clip. And now we have to match the size of the original clip. using the transform. We only need to zoom and the position, unless you rotated your image in Photoshop somehow. And you can really use the arrow keys to make this very precise. Okay, if you now want to do any color adjustments, we need to add an adjustment layer over both of the clips. And we can use that in the color page to change any colors, so it applies to both of the clips. You can do whatever you like with this. I like to add a little color grade, some light streak, some film grain, because it is still a still frame and that makes it look more like a video. So that's how you create a very basic generative AI set extension on just a still frame. Now I want to do some more experiments and see what I can do with this AI. This is a clip I recorded last year in Italy, so the mountains were already there, but I decided to add a castle, a bigger moon and this cloud with AI. And to make it look more like a video instead of a still image, I added moving tree branches and these flying birds. These are not made by AI though, I just got them from the internet and color matched them with the rest of the shot. And then it's important to add the color grade on top of all the elements to make it look more cohesive. This you can do with the adjustment layer like I showed before. Okay, now for the shot in my short film. It's about this shot in the interior bank scene. 10 million, I believe, was the agreement. And so what I did is I added the bank vault door in the background because I couldn't get a real bank location. So this is the original shot in Photoshop. And what I first did is generate the edges just with a fill. I then fixed something on the right, stuff we already discussed. But then to add the bank vault door, I ran into a problem. Apparently the AI doesn't know what a bank vault is, or it just doesn't know how to generate one that's good enough. So the solution I came up with is to add a picture of a vault door. What I did with the AI then is generate the edges around the picture. So that's another thing the AI does really well, is blend edges of two pictures together seamlessly, because that's something that's kind of hard to do yourself. I then fixed the bottom of the door as well to make that blend in, and then added some lighting adjustments to make it blend in more. And that's another thing you can notice in this shot, is that it's still in log format, because we recorded the film in log format, and the AI just adapts to whatever format you have. What's useful about this is that I can then afterwards still use the log format to color grade the shot correctly. So these are two more things you can do with the AI. You can blend two images together by creating the edges with the generative fill. And you can also use a log format and the AI will just adapt to it. I don't know about other formats, but we'll have to experiment with that. So up to now we've used the AI on effective but kind of simple shots. So let's move on to something that I'm not sure of if it will work. Up until now, movement has really been a big problem. We've basically been creating still images, and I did add some moving elements to make it look more like video. But I think camera movement is a big part of film and video, so I decided to try this one last time. I did film this shot with the camera movement and then did the same as before and generated the ship in Photoshop. But then I imported everything into After Effects and tracked the scene with a 3D camera tracker and then placed the generated image in there. This did come with a problem because the AI also generated a background behind the ship. Now this is good because it makes the ship blend in with the rest, but it's bad because the perspective of the background doesn't change. I basically solved this by blurring the edges of the generated image a lot. And I think I just got lucky here because that was possible because the background didn't have complex patterns. So I don't know if this will work for other scenarios. That was it for today. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe for more. And with that, I'll see you next time.